Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's episode is to connect myself and all of the listeners spiritually with those hundreds of thousands who have traveled from all over the world and assembled into Holy Land, waiting for Hajj days to start. Days of Hajj will begin right from 26 June and it will end on 1st July. So there are total 6 days in which the rituals and arkan of Hajj are being performed by the Hujjaj. First and foremost, we would like to know the names of those 6 days. Number 1, 8 Zilhijjah, that is known as Yawm Tarwiyah. Number 2, 9th of Zilhijjah, that is known as Yawm Wuquf Arafah. 10th of Zilhijjah, which is known as Yawm Nahr. 11th of Zilhijjah, which is known as Yawm Al-Qarr. 12th of Zilhijjah is known as Yawm Al-Nafar Al-Awwal. And 13th of Zilhijjah is known as Yawm Al-Nafar Al-Thani. Little bit details about these 6 days. Yawm Tarwiyah. Tarwiyah means to quench the thirst. In olden days, Hujjaj used to travel from long distances on the camels. So while they are starting those 6 days in which they are going to really perform the rituals, they used to make sure that their animals are being given enough food and water, and they have done all their preparation which is going to be needed during 6 days of journey. So that preparation is known as Yawm Tarwiyah. Yawm Tarwiyah, Hujjaj, after the preparation, they goes to Mina, and then they stays in Mina right from performing Zohar prayer, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and the next day Fajr prayer also they perform in Mina. Right after Tulu Shams, Hujjaj begin their second day of Hajj, and that is Yawm Wuquf Arafah, 9th Zilhijjah. After Tulu Shams, they travel to the plain of Arafah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he traveled to Arafah, and then a place where right now Masjid Namira is situated. That is the area where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed into the tent, and that's where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was resting. And then at the time of Zawal, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with one azan and 2 iqama, he laid Zohar and Asr prayer, and that was also Qasr, 2 and 2 rak'ah. Although the day in which Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Wuquf Arafah was Yawm Jum'ah, but Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not perform Jum'ah on the day of Arafah. He did Zohar and Asr, and that is also Qasr, and that is Jama, and combining both in the time of Zohar. Right after the prayer was over, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has delivered a khutbah which is known as Khutbatul Wada', and that is a masterpiece, and that is a special message for all of the humanity. We are going to dedicate one episode only to get lessons out of the khutbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After he has delivered the khutbah, then the qaswa was brought. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mounted on qaswa, and then he reached to a place called Jabalur Rahma, and that's where he has done the wuquf of Arafah. He stayed there in long hours of dua, and dua, and that is until the sunset. So all those millions who are going to be assembling into the plain of Arafah, it is recommended for them to dedicate themselves more time into dua. One of the zikr is recommended on the day of Arafah, which is mentioned in the hadith. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, خير ما قلت أنا والنبيون قبلي لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. It is recommended that we use this zikr in abundance on the day of Arafah, because this was exactly done by all of the prophets, including Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is recommended for non-Haji to fast on the day of Arafah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, يُكَفِّرُ السَّنَةَ الَّتِي قَبْلَهُ وَالَّتِي بَعْدَهُ. It will secure the forgiveness of the sins of 2 years by fasting one day of Arafah. Right after Wuquf of Arafah, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at the time of sunset, he did not perform Maghrib, rather he traveled and he reached to plain of Muzdalifah, and that's where he has spent night. First he did combining two prayers in a similar manner as we have heard the Zuhr and Asr. He did with one azan and two iqama, Maghrib and Isha. And then after he rested and spent his night, he performed Salatul Fajr in Muzdalifah, and then he made lot and lot dua, and then after he picked up the pebbles, and then he reached to Mina. And the first thing he did is the Ramyul Jamarat, pelting the shaitan. And right after pelting shaitan, which is on the 10th of Zilhijjah, Yawmun Nahar, day of Eid, for Haji they don't have to perform Eid. Their Eid is they have to go and do the rituals. So first thing is to pelting shaitan. Right after pelting shaitan, they confirm whether their udhiyah is done or not. If their confirmation comes that udhiyah is done on their behalf, then the third amal they do is the qasr or the halaq, shaving their hair. And right after that they come out from their ihram, and then they go to Kaaba al-Musharrafa, and that's where they perform the Tawaf al-Ifada or Tawaf al-Ziyara, either one of these name. And then they make Sa'i of Safa and Marwa, and then after they come back again to Mina. By the time they are returning back to Mina, it is almost night, and that is what called Yawmul Qarr. It means to stay in Mina the night of 11th, and then the morning of 11, right after Zawal, they have to go again for pelting shaitan. That is Ramyul Jimar. And then after again Prophet ﷺ came back, remained in his tent, and then on the 12th of Zilhijjah also he has done Ramyul Jimar right after Zawal Shams and Zohar time. And then again he came back and he stayed the night of 12th also in Mina. And then on 13th of Zilhijjah, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned back, and that is the real sunnah. In fact, it is allowed for someone who would like to go earlier, as Allah has made mention, فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. If a person would like to complete their pelting and Ramyul Jimar between 11 and 12, and they want to go back to their accommodation, it is allowed for them. Then after the days of Tashriq comes. Days of Tashriq are 11th, 12th and 13th Zilhijjah. There are few rulings about Ayyam al-Tashriq. Number one, that 5 days in a year we are not allowed to fast. It is haram to fast on 5 days. Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, and 3 days of Tashriq, which is 11th, 12th and 13th, is because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says they are the days of eating and feeding people and zikrun lillah, and raising the name of Allah Azza wa Jal. So in time of eating and drinking and feeding people, fasting is not allowed. That's number one. Number two, in those days, 9th of Zilhijjah, 10, 11, 12, and 13, performing Umrah is also not allowed. Umrah season would begin right at the 14th of Zilhijjah. And the third amal on the Ayyam al-Tashriq is to raise the name of Allah Azza wa Jal in a form of takbirat, and that is from day of Arafah until the 13th of Zilhijjah. Almost 23 prayers right after the prayer out loud. Each of the musalli has to say Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.